One courtroom, one ruling, one word removed. In seconds, the last legal party standing against Russia's war vanished from the ballot forever. But outside, hundreds of teenagers didn't go home. They stood in the rain, watched the verdict kill their only vote, and refused to move. What happens when a system erases the exit and leaves only the street? It starts with silence. Inside a courtroom in central Moscow, a judge takes more than an hour to decide the fate of a single word on a ballot. Outside on Pavarskaya Street, hundreds wait. Most of them are under 30. Many are teenagers, some too young to vote even if the answer had gone the other way. Picture the scene. No soldiers, no missiles, no front line. Just a courthouse, a crowd, and a phone screen everyone is staring at. Then the ruling comes down. One word removed. In seconds, Yabloko, the last legally registered anti-war party in Russia, is erased from the ballot for the September elections. No party, no vote. No legal outlet left for millions who oppose the war but have nowhere to put that opposition on paper. This is not a tank rolling through a city. This is quieter and in some ways more dangerous. A signature, a stamp, a single sentence that just closed the last sanctioned door in a country of 140 million people. And here's the paradox that drives everything that follows. This party barely registered in the polls. It was never a threat at the ballot box. So why did the Kremlin need its highest court and hundreds of riot police just to remove something that couldn't win? The crowd didn't go home. And what happened next would reveal exactly what the state was really afraid of. To understand why this ruling mattered, you have to understand what Yabloko actually was. Not a powerful opposition. Not a threat to Putin's grip on power. It was something more useful to the state than that, a release valve. A place where anti-war sentiment could go, get counted, get filed away, and change nothing. Every authoritarian system runs on this logic. You don't need to crush every voice of dissent if you can channel it somewhere harmless first. Give people a box to check. Let them feel heard. Keep the real streets empty. With elections weeks away, Yabloko was that box. And on August 10, 2026, the state removed it, right before the exact moment it would need it most. But there was one factor the Kremlin hadn't fully priced into that decision. Most analysts were watching the front lines that week, not a courthouse. But something had been shifting quietly, for years, in a generation nobody expected to move. Russian youth were never supposed to be a problem. For decades, they were the most pro-Kremlin demographic in the country, cautious, apolitical, focused on getting by, not standing out. That was the pattern. That was the assumption everyone built their models on. Imagine standing in that crowd outside the courthouse. Most of them have never known a Russia that wasn't at war. Some aren't even old enough to vote yet, but they came anyway. Something changed the math. Years of conscription anxiety. A war entering its 5th year with no end in sight. The scars of 2022, when 300,000 reservists were called up overnight, and over 261,000 people fled the country rather than fight. That fear didn't disappear. It just went quiet, until this one afternoon, outside one courthouse, when the most cautious generation in modern Russian history decided quiet wasn't an option anymore. But nobody in that crowd expected what the police would say next. The ruling lands. The crowd doesn't scatter, they react. And that reaction gets an answer nobody was prepared for. National Guard vehicles seal the street. Riot police in balaclavas line the curb. An officer raises a megaphone. Here's what should have happened. A warning about unlawful assembly. A threat of arrest. Standard procedure. Here's what actually happened. The officer's warning referenced draft offices. Not protest law, not public order, conscription. For a few seconds, the state's real leverage over this generation slipped into plain view. Not the courtroom, not the ballot, the draft list. Think about the strategic logic here. If the real threat behind the badge is a military enlistment office, then the message to every young person in that crowd wasn't "go home." It was something closer to, "We don't need a law to control you. We already have your name on a list." That's not crowd control. That's a different kind of warfare entirely, and it exposes a problem the Kremlin can't easily solve. Here's the number that makes this whole standoff make sense. In November 2025, Russia signed a law ending the old seasonal draft system. From 2026 on, draft boards operate year-round, not just in 2 windows a year, but constantly. Spring conscription alone climbed from 134,500 men in 2022 to 160,000 by 2025. Recruitment offices are signing 1,000 to 1,500 new contract soldiers every single day, most from the poorest regions of the country. Now do the math on the paradox. A state fighting a war this long needs bodies, hundreds of thousands of them, continuously. That means it cannot afford to alienate the exact demographic it depends on most: young men and women of fighting age. And yet, every legal tool it uses to shut down dissent, banning a party, threatening a draft office over a megaphone, pushes that same generation further away. This is a two-front war the Kremlin didn't choose: manpower on one side, political control on the other. And for the first time, those two fronts are working against each other. This isn't a temporary tension. The numbers say it's structural, and structural pressure doesn't stay quiet forever. Russia has been here before. September 2022, mobilization announced, and within days, nearly 800 people detained across 33 cities, almost half of them in Moscow alone. That was the last time this exact pressure surfaced this visibly, but compare the two moments. 2022 was reactive. A shock announcement met with a shock response. This is different. This is a system that had years to prepare and still walked into the same trap, removing its own pressure valve right as tension was building underneath it. Picture it like a sealed container with the heat still rising. The ballot box is gone. The party is gone. So where does the pressure go now? Nobody can say for certain. As of mid-2026, there's open speculation inside Russia itself about whether a new mobilization wave is coming. And the Kremlin keeps denying it, the same way it denied one right before 2022. What's confirmed? The last controlled, legal outlet just closed. What's not confirmed? What fills the space it left behind? That uncertainty is exactly what should worry anyone watching this system from the outside. By evening, the crowd on Pavarskaya Street went home, deflated but not gone, not silent. That's the real story here, not a riot, not a revolution, just a quiet refusal to disperse when a system expected them to. The Kremlin didn't eliminate a threat that day. It relocated one, from a ballot box it could count, monitor, and control, to a generation's memory it can't erase and can't fully police. This is not guaranteed to become anything larger. One protest outside one courthouse is a data point, not a verdict. But Western analysts watching Russia's ability to sustain this war are watching exactly this kind of pressure, because domestic tolerance, not battlefield maps alone, is one of the few real constraints left on how long this war can continue. September's elections are the next test. Whether this was one isolated afternoon or the first visible crack in something much larger is a question nobody can answer yet. What we do know is this: a system built to control everything just discovered it can't fully control its own youngest citizens anymore. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe for more grounded military and geopolitical analysis, no exaggeration, just what's actually happening. Comment question: do you think Russia's youth are becoming a real pressure point on the Kremlin, or is this still too small to matter?